The way a person starts their morning sets the tone for the entire day. Owning the morning is about more than just waking up early. It's about waking up with purpose. It means refusing to let the outside world dictate the first thoughts of the day. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phones, checking messages, social media, or emails. In doing so, they hand over control of their mindset to the demands and distractions of the world. But when the morning starts with intention, it creates mental clarity, confidence, and direction. Owning the morning means beginning with a decision to lead the day instead of being led by it. The mind is clearest and most receptive in the early hours. It's a sacred space before the noise of the world crashes in. That's the moment to speak purpose into the day. It could be through affirmations, planning, journaling, or simply sitting in silence and visualizing what success looks like. It's about setting an internal standard before the external pressures begin. When the first move of the day is intentional, it builds momentum. That momentum then carries through decisions, actions, and interactions. There's power in how time is used when the world is still quiet. Even 15 minutes of mindful reflection, goal setting, or deep breathing can create a shift that lasts all day. It's in these early moments that a person can ask, what do I want from today? Who do I want to be? What energy do I want to bring into every room I walk into? These questions lead to answers, and those answers lead to results. Without them, it's easy to drift, to become reactive, and to allow the day to pass without progress. Those who own their mornings don't necessarily have more time. They just use it better. It's not about rushing through tasks or squeezing in as much as possible. It's about being grounded before being busy. It's about preparing the mind to face challenges with strength instead of stress. A prepared mind doesn't crumble under pressure. It adapts, it leads, and it wins. And that preparation begins before the first email, the first meeting, or the first deadline. It begins the moment the eyes open. When someone takes charge of their morning, they build trust in themselves. They start to believe in their ability to follow through. Every small win in the morning, getting up on time, making the bed, moving the body, fueling it with something healthy, becomes a vote of confidence. It's a message that says, I am in control of my life. And that message echoes throughout the day, influencing behavior, mood, and mindset. Most people underestimate how much their future is shaped by how they start their mornings. They assume change requires massive effort, but the truth is transformation starts small. A consistent morning practice, done daily, compounds into life-altering progress. Owning the morning isn't just a productivity hack. It's a life strategy. It separates those who drift from those who drive. The choice to be intentional early on translates into better choices throughout the day. Better choices create better habits. Better habits build a better life. There is something powerful about rising before the noise, before the rush, before the demands. It creates space. And in that space, clarity is found, confidence is built, direction becomes clear. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Even if the day later goes sideways, that initial moment of ownership becomes an anchor. It reminds the mind who's in control. It reminds the body who sets the pace. It reminds the heart that purpose is stronger than pressure. When the morning is owned, the day does not dictate the mindset. The mindset dictates the day. That is where power begins. That is where transformation starts. That is how one shift, repeated consistently, becomes the foundation for unstoppable growth. Every great achievement, every meaningful change begins with a decision, and there is no better time to make that decision than the morning, not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Now, this moment, because how the day begins decides how it ends. And those who own the morning don't wait for life to happen. They make life happen. What this study illustrates, waking up and choosing gratitude is one of the most powerful shifts a person can make to change their entire life. This study illustrates. It doesn't mean pretending that problems don't exist. It means choosing to see beyond them. When the first thoughts of the day are rooted in appreciation rather than anxiety, the mind starts from a place of strength instead of stress. illustrates. Gratitude doesn't erase challenges, but it changes how they are faced. It creates a lens that filters out negativity and focuses on what is still right. What this study illustrates, still possible, still beautiful. That mindset opens the door to resilience, clarity, and the moment the eyes open, it illustrates, the brain begins collecting information without intention. It drifts toward fear, pressure, and what's missing. That's the default. But when a person deliberately pauses and thinks, what am I thankful for right now? They are taking control of that mental direction. Illustrates. They are rewriting the narrative before it begins. The brain is wired to protect, so it searches for danger. Gratitude retrains it to also see blessings. Study illustrates. It is not denial. It is discipline. It is the discipline of choosing a higher perspective before the world tells you how to feel. Gratitude is not an emotion that shows up on its own. It is a choice, a mindset, a habit. And habits, when practiced daily, become character. When gratitude becomes part of the morning routine, it builds emotional muscle. That strength carries through when life tests patience, when work demands more, when relationships stretch then. Instead of breaking under the weight of disappointment, a grateful person bends with grace. What this study illustrates, they still feel the pressure, but they rise above it with perspective because they've trained their mind to see the good even in the hard. Every morning is a blank canvas. The first brushstrokes matter. Gratitude colors the canvas with hope, possibility, and peace. What this study illustrates, it is the act of noticing small joys like breath, light, warmth, shelter, freedom. These are things often taken for granted. Illustrates, yet they are foundations of life. To pause and acknowledge them is to build life on solid ground. From that ground, everything else is added, not in desperation, but in appreciation. And that difference in energy changes how goals are pursued and how obstacles are managed. When someone begins the day with a heart full of thanks, this illustrates their energy shifts, their tone becomes softer, their patience stretches longer, their perspective widens, straits. People are drawn to that kind of spirit because it feels safe, uplifting, and inspiring. Gratitude doesn't just change how one feels. It changes how others feel around them. It creates a ripple effect. One grateful person in a household or a team can lift the atmosphere. Their calm becomes contagious. Their joy becomes strength for others. Illustrates. Choosing gratitude also trains the mind to see abundance instead of focusing on scarcity. What's missing, what's late, illustrates. What's broken, it starts to see opportunity. This shift unlocks creativity, resourcefulness, and progress. This study illustrates. A grateful mind sees what can be done instead of being stuck in what can't. It turns frustration into fuel. Illustrates. It uses challenges as a reason to grow instead of a reason to quit. That's the quiet power of gratitude. It transforms without forcing. Illustrates. It lifts without shouting. It wins without needing applause. People often chase happiness, thinking it's found in outcomes. But happiness is often a byproduct of gratitude. When someone is thankful, even for small things, they start feeling fulfilled. Illustrates. Not everything is perfect, but because they've stopped needing perfection to feel peace. That is freedom. And that freedom fuels motivation. It's a grateful person works harder not because they have to prove something, but because they're already blessed and want to build on it. Illustrates. Their effort comes from a place of joy, not lack. Starting the morning with gratitude doesn't require hours, just moments. A pause before the rush, a deep breath before the hustle. A single thought that says, thank you. It can be spoken aloud, written down, or simply felt deeply. What matters is that it is real, that it is consistent, that it becomes a pattern because that pattern becomes protection. A shield against negativity, against overwhelm, against burnout. Gratitude protects the mind and opens the heart. It softens the edges of a hard world. It brings focus when things feel scattered. It brings light when things feel dark. Gratitude over gloom is not always easy, but it is always worth it. And like any powerful habit, the more it is practiced, the more natural it becomes. Over time, it doesn't just shift mornings. It transforms lives. Illustrates. Because people who are truly grateful don't wait for something to go right to feel alive. They wake up already alive, already thankful, already ready. Illustrates. That kind of spirit can't be stopped. It moves through the day with confidence. It walks through adversity with grace. study illustrates finishes strong because it starts strong. And it all begins with one power choosing to see what's good before the world tells you what's wrong. Illustrates the ability to visualize victory is one of the most underrated tools for success. It's not just a feel-good exercise. It's a mental rehearsal that prepares the mind and body to perform at their best. What the mind sees repeatedly, it begins to believe. And what it believes, it starts to create. Starting the morning with visualization is a powerful way to build confidence, focus, and direction. It means seeing the goal, feeling the success, and walking through the process before the first action is ever taken. What this study illustrates turns dreams into decisions and intentions into plans. It creates a blueprint for success before the day even begins. When the mind is filled with images of victory, it begins to expect success. That expectation becomes fuel. It drives action, sharpens focus, and silences doubt. Visualization is not about fantasy. It's about clarity. It's about knowing exactly what is being worked toward and why. Illustrates. It paints the picture so vividly that the brain starts to treat it like reality. The study illustrates. It's the difference between wandering through the day hoping for progress and marching through it with purpose. The clearer the vision illustrates, the stronger the motivation to bring it to life. Visualizing victory in the morning sets a tone of intention. It says, illustrates, I'm not just going through the motions today. I have a target and I will hit it. The process involves more than just seeing the end result. It includes imagining the steps, the effort, the emotions, and the obstacles. It means mentally facing the hard parts and seeing yourself overcome them. That kind of preparation strengthens the mind, mental toughness. It turns fear into familiarity and doubt into discipline. Great athletes, performers, and leaders use visualization every day. They see the win before they get on the field. They walk through their speech before stepping on stage. It illustrates they mentally rehearse the meeting before walking into the room. What this practice, this isn't just for the elite. It's for anyone who wants to live with purpose and win the day. It's available to everyone. What this study illustrates, and it costs nothing but a few focused minutes. Those minutes, repeated consistently, can change everything. The power of visualization lies in its ability to connect emotion to intention. When a person sees themselves succeeding, what this study illustrates, they begin to feel what it would be like. That emotion is powerful. It creates a sense of urgency, a desire to take action, and a belief that success is possible. It lifts the mindset from survival to success. It transforms ordinary actions into steps toward something meaningful. That emotional creates resilience, because when setbacks come, and they always do, the mind remembers the vision. It remembers why it started, and that memory reignites the fire. Visualizing victory also helps eliminate distractions. When the mind has a clear image of the goal, it becomes easier to say no to what doesn't serve that vision. Focus sharpens. Time is used better. Energy is directed more intentionally. The vision becomes a filter through which decisions are made. It creates a sense of alignment between what is imagined and what is done. What the study illustrates, that alignment creates momentum, and momentum is what turns effort into achievement. Starting the morning with visualization also creates a mental advantage. While others are still waking up in confusion or stress, a person who visualizes is already mentally in motion. They've already seen the best version of themselves taking on the day. That internal momentum carries them forward. They approach challenges with more calm and more clarity. They don't just hope to succeed. They expect to. Illustrates, and that expectation changes how they show up in every situation. Visualization is not magic, but it is powerful. It works great because it engages the subconscious mind. It rewires limiting beliefs and replaces them with empowering ones. When practiced daily, it becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a mindset. Over time, that mindset becomes reality. Success starts to feel familiar even before it arrives. And that familiarity makes it easier to step into when the opportunity comes. Confidence grows. Action becomes bolder. Fear begins to fade. What begins as a quiet morning habit soon becomes a lifestyle built on purpose, passion, and clarity. The vision becomes not just something to chase, but something to embody. Each day becomes a step toward the life that was once only imagined. And the more that vision is seen, the closer it becomes. It is not a question of if. It is a matter of when the illustrates, because those who see the victory before it happens are the ones who make it happen. One of the most powerful decisions a person can make each morning is to act without hesitation. The moment the day begins, there is a window where the mind is fresh, undistracted, and full of potential. But that window can close quickly if it is not used. The longer a person waits to take action, the louder the excuses become. Overthinking creeps in, doubt gets stronger, and motivation fades. But when action is immediate, momentum is built. That momentum creates progress. It builds confidence. It shifts the entire energy of the day from passive to powerful. Taking action in the morning is not about doing everything. It's about doing something. One small move, one deliberate choice, one step forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be done. The first action creates motion, and motion creates clarity. So many people sit still waiting for motivation when what they really need is movement. Action generates the energy needed to keep going. It silences the fear that thrives in hesitation. There's a myth that successful people are always motivated. In reality, they are just disciplined enough to act without waiting for motivation to show up. They don't rely on mood. They rely on commitment. They understand that action is the antidote to doubt. It breaks the cycle of procrastination and gives the mind something to focus on. Once the first move is made, the next one becomes easier. Momentum builds on itself, and soon what felt overwhelming becomes manageable. The key is to reduce the gap between intention and action. The longer the delay, the more space there is for the mind to talk itself out of progress. The morning is the best time to practice closing that gap. It could be getting out of bed when the alarm rings instead of hitting snooze. It could be writing the first sentence instead of planning the perfect paragraph. It could be moving the body before checking the phone. These small decisions send a powerful message. I am in control of my day, not the other way around. People often wait for the perfect time to begin. They wait to feel ready, wait for the right mood, wait for the ideal conditions. But waiting is the enemy of growth. There is no perfect time. There is only now. Acting in the face of uncertainty builds courage. It proves that forward movement is possible even when everything isn't figured out. Perfection is not required. Progress is. And progress comes from action. Action also builds identity. Every time a person follows through on what they said they would do, they build trust in themselves. That trust becomes the foundation for self-confidence. When someone repeatedly shows up for themselves, they begin to see themselves as someone who takes action. That identity changes how they approach challenges, goals, and relationships. They stop second guessing and start leading. They stop hoping and start doing. The power of morning action is that it sets the tone for the rest of the day. When the first decision is bold, the rest tend to follow. It creates a rhythm of decisiveness and determination. That rhythm turns into routine, and routine turns into results. Morning action becomes the spark that lights the fire of productivity, focus, and momentum. It doesn't mean rushing through everything. It means starting with purpose and continuing with consistency. Taking action is also a powerful response to fear. Fear thrives in stillness. It grows stronger the longer a person waits. But when action is taken, fear shrinks. It loses its grip. Even if the result isn't perfect, the act of doing builds strength. Each time fear is faced, it becomes less intimidating. Each time hesitation is overcome, courage grows, and that courage becomes a habit that can transform a person's entire life. The goal is not to be fearless, but to act in spite of fear, to wake up and move forward even when the path isn't clear. Because action creates clarity. Each step reveals the next. Each decision brings new insight, and over time, those small, consistent actions create massive transformation. Success doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from creating the moment through action. Morning is the most powerful time to begin that process. It's a fresh start, a clean slate, a chance to move before the world distracts and demands. When that time is used with intention, it creates momentum that lasts all day. That momentum becomes a mindset, and that mindset becomes a lifestyle of unstoppable forward movement.